the Pledge of Allegiance. Will Mr. Roy Sukanik please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the roll call show that currently all members are here, with the exception of Ms. Sexton Ruiz, who I expect will be joining us momentarily, and both members of Cabinet. We would like to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting and remind the audience of the request to address board cards that are in the back corner that must be completed and submitted to the board secretary if you wish to speak to an agenda item. Board policy provides for 2 cards, white cards to be submitted in order to speak to an agenda item, and blue cards to be submitted in order to speak during public comments. Policy also states that there is a 5-minute maximum time limit per speaker. Due to the open meeting law, board members are not allowed to address items that are not on the agenda. If you do not want to address the board, but wish to give your comments in writing, you can do so on a goldenrod sheet, and all members will receive a copy. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda as printed.
Is there a second?
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The agenda is approved. The special board meeting minutes from January 8th. Is there a motion?
I move the governing board approve the minutes as submitted.
Is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No one opposed. The meeting minutes are approved. Public comments. I have 2 cards. First, John, and I apologize, I can't quite spell your can't quite pronounce your last name, but go ahead and come forward. You have 5 minutes to address the board.
Thank you, sir.
Please state for the record your name, and if you can give an address, that's great too.
Thank you. My name is John Benyu. My address is 4221 East McDowell Road. Do you need an apartment number? Okay. Phoenix, Arizona, 85008. Okay.
Please proceed.
Thank you. I'm here in regard to a recommended termination. I am the respective staff. I thought that it would be a good idea to address the members of the board in regard to this situation. I thought that it would be a good idea to present some information which I thought would be important. I have a response which I have prepared. It's my understanding that the board members have copies of my response, but I would like to read it also. Esteemed members of the governing board, I have received the recommendation of Ms. Michelle Berg regarding my termination for attempting to access a website that is pornographic, according to this letter. I believe that a termination at this time would not be justified for several reasons. First, I believe that I should have an opportunity to conduct my own fact-finding, find out more about this situation. Secondly, I believe that the entire group of you, the board members, should have an opportunity to view commendations that I have received from a former supervisor and my current supervisor. Thirdly, I have been a staff in the district for approximately 2 years, and I have not had any major problems until now. I do not believe that a termination, the most severe disciplinary action, is warranted in this case. Lastly, I would like to say that the information submitted from at least one meeting with Dr. Lugo is not complete or accurate necessarily. How much more time do I have, sir?
You have 2 minutes and 46 seconds.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. There was a meeting. Dr. Lugo, who I understand is the Director of Human Resources here in the district, was present. There was a gentleman who was present. I understand that he is the Director of Technology. Dr. Lugo had her laptop computer during this meeting, and she indicated that she was going to record the information from the meeting. After the meeting, my supervisor, Miss Michelle Shook, presented the document apparently prepared by Dr. Lugo, and she requested that I sign the document. I thought that would be a good idea to review that document before signing it. I was very, very surprised. One thing that was of some concern to me was that information from our previous meeting was missing from the document. Another thing that was of concern to me was that some of the statements in her document were not necessarily accurate. A third area of concern was that some of the sentences in the document were not very cohesive. There were incomplete sentences. I noticed that some words were missing. There were some words that she had repeated. I thought that it was very interesting that such a document would come from someone who is our Director of Human Resources, someone who I understand is a very well-educated, high-level executive here in the Creighton District. How much more time do I have?
45 seconds.
Thank you. I don't know if you are aware of this, but I mentioned this during the meeting with Dr. Lugo and the gentleman who is our Director of Technology. As far as I know, there has been a problem with the computers. I have used the computers there in the school, and on many occasions I have not been able to log off from those computers. As a matter of fact, I received a document on Thursday here in the district office indicating that I had still been logged on to a computer approximately 2.5 hours after I had left from the computer site in order to go back to work. Is that it?
Thank you, sir. That is the 5 minutes.
Okay.
My next card that we have is from a Tom Harris. Please come forward, and you have 5 minutes. Please, again, state your name for the record and anyone you may be representing.
Mr. President, Chairman, members of the board, my name is Tom Harris. I am managing partner for PV Advanced Concepts. I addressed the board last year on 2 occasions, trying to get the board interested in solar energy for the district. And at that time, there were very good incentives for Creighton Elementary School, or school district, to involve itself in solar. And recently, a little birdie informed me that the board was now interested in pursuing solar. And I wanted to congratulate the board for taking a look at solar opportunities for the district, and mention that still it's possible to do very attractive solar projects for the school district. And anything I can do to help to make that program successful, I and offer my services. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next agenda item is the superintendent's report. Dr. Boyle.
Thank you. As part of my superintendent's report this evening, I would like to update on the governing board vacancy declared in Creighton School District. As you know, the deadline for the application was today, January 22nd, with a stamp-in deadline of 4:30 p.m. I would like to report that we do have 5 applicants for the position who will go through the process. In clarification with the county school superintendent, they asked that the information on the candidates could be provided with a request for public records, and those candidates will be forwarded on to the county school superintendents after the vetting process. This Thursday and Friday, January 24th and 25th, the candidates will participate in a district orientation, and our governing board support person, Hilda, will contact the applicants tomorrow to give them the information on choosing one of two meetings where they will receive information. The vetting process is scheduled between January 26th and February 6th. And on February 7th, in this room from 6 to 7:30, there will be a candidate forum. This is open to the public, and I encourage all of you to attend this meeting in this room.
Thank you, Dr. Boyle. The next agenda items are the approval of consent. Is there a motion?
So, I just wonder if it's possible to perhaps pull one of the personal action items from the items of consent until we can review it a little bit further. Is that possible to get more information?
We certainly can pull an agenda item from consent and do an approval of all of the others with the exception. But then once that happens, what we have is simply a report. So I don't know that we can, would we have to table that to another time?
I mean, what we could do is have discussion on that, and of the action we consider, we could approve it, we can deny it, or we can table it at that point. So pulling it from consent means that we give an opportunity to talk to the specific item.
Correct. So if that's what you wanted to do, then the motion would have to be to approve consent agenda items, and then whatever you would say, whatever, so rather than A through D, it would be, you'd say which ones that you are approving. So if it's the personnel that you were pulling, then it would be B through D that you would approve. And then that would approve all those others, and then the other would still be on our agenda, but it wouldn't be consent. So.
Okay. Okay, so I move to approve items B through D on the consent agenda items.
Okay, and that's, can you add the last part under recommended action in accordance with policy BEDB-R?
Move the governing board approve consent items B through D in accordance with policy BEDB-R.
Okay, it has been moved. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, with no opposed, then we still have the agenda item 6A, which is open for discussion, reminding everyone that personnel items are not something that we would be discussing specifically, I assume. But that we would, this might be a time to discuss what we're going to do with this agenda item, correct?
Yeah, and you actually could say
Okay,
about
so
it
we could.
because, I mean, if, you know, that person is here and he kind of chose for it to be heard in a public meeting, then you can ask a little bit more specifics.
Okay, so that's something that could be, as you heard from Hilda, that's something that's often dealt with privately, but can be dealt with publicly once that has kind of been aired. So,
I guess, you know, I'm just curious if you know, if what, I'm sorry, I don't remember how to pronounce his name. Venue?
Venue, yes, that's
Venue.
right.
You know, if there was information during a meeting that was omitted, I don't know that, I just don't know if I don't know if I feel right personally deciding somebody's fate with their job without knowing the details of that meeting. I have a hard time doing that. Is it common practice to ever get those meeting you know, that what happens in those meetings so that we can make a well-informed decision, or is it just?
So I guess, Ms. Simons, if I'm hearing you correctly, you just want to know, like, from our administrative leaders, like, what is the process, what does this look like, and how did you come to this conclusion?
Right, yes, yeah, thank you for translating.
So, yeah, on the specific, on the information we heard it during public comments.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the governing board and cabinet. Thank you for calling me up to give you a general information, not specifics on this, but I do have specifics and I can make copies of all of you. What happens is when an allegation comes to the HR department, we conduct an investigation, gather all our facts, and we are advised by the attorney to give our notes, and that's what was given at the time. They were notes, that was not a written report, to the person who was in question. I often ask for a written statement from all witnesses as well as the person who's being questioned at that time, which was done. The statement was refused to be given as a written statement, so I shared my notes at that time, but they are just that, notes in the rough. If you'd like specifics on this specific case and details, I can share those with you out loud. Please know that a paraprofessional is an at-will employee. They have no rights to a hearing. They can be given notice for any reason or no reason. At this time, our reason is inappropriate use of our technology.
Can I ask, was it immediate? You know, Mr. Vincent was sitting in front of the computer and that's when it happened, or that's when the offensive material showed up on the computer screen?
We're lucky that we have systems which block that material, so in order that the material was not accessed, but we have history from the computer and the accounts that that person was attempting to access.
Dr. Legault, like, we heard definitely some challenges in the process, but was there a denial of the actual, like, the cause? Did the employee refute that he inappropriately used our resources?
He refuted that he was attempting to download pornography. He was attempting to see who was contacting him. His statement was attempting to see who was contacting him from the specific sites. In order to access that site, you have to go to their page. I can tell you what the words even to type into the web browser for that site is very suggestive. In order to get your information there, you have to go to their homepage, and there are pornographic pictures of women who are not clothed. So any student coming up after that, maybe they couldn't access it at that time. They could write down that website, go home, put it into their computer, and see what the adults in the system are looking at.
Was it a one-time incident?
This incident was a one-time incident with repeated attempts to access these sites.
I'm sorry, did you say at-will employees? What was that?
At will.
Okay. Are they given like an access to technology agreement?
Yes,
okay.
and attended the trainings.
Okay.
I think you're familiar with our
Yeah.
trainings, attended those as well.
Okay. And those technology trainings, are they annually or at the beginning of employment?
They're annually and at the beginning of employment.
So there would have Dr. Lugo, been something that was signed by the employee stating an understanding of that
Yes.
policy? And did that policy indicate that accessing such a site from our district's property would have been a violation of that policy?
It clearly states that, inappropriate use of the technology. And the training, we have a signature that he attended the training, and he admits that he attended that training.
Is there further discussion or a motion?
I move the governing board approve consent agenda item A
Second.
in accordance with policy BEBB-R.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion is approved. And we did already approve B through D, correct, Sheldon? Okay, so we are moving on to agenda item 10A, which under business and plant, the Auditor General Performance Audit of the 2007-08 school year.